Hey master, as you can see in the screen, I do have a to-dos application up and running in my local computer that you can have it as well. I'll leave the link in the description. And as you can see, I can create a new to-do, I can update a new to-do, and I can delete a new to-do, right? If I expand here my network tab, you can see that every single action here is working by API. You can see a post request here, you can see a patch request for the update, and you can see a delete request to, well, delete the to-do that you wanted to delete, right? I want to explain you how you can achieve all that stuff using Playwright and Python. As you can see in this script, I'll be running a script that is going to automatically create a new to-do. It is going to update the to-do, and we can as well delete it. I'm going to explain you how you can achieve this in this video, so I hope that you enjoy it. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look of how it works. Okay, master, I just wanted to tell you as well that in my YouTube channel, here we have a playlist named Playwright Python tutorial. You can see here the installation process, what is PYTEST, how you can use it, also how you can create UI actions or how you can manage the UI or the basic interactions with Playwright and Python. And we do have an introduction of API testing. We have already created a test to create a new to-do, but we haven't checked how you can get the to-do that we created before, how you can update, and how you can delete that. Okay, so that's the scope for this video, and let's go ahead and take a look at how we can do it. How you can get the to-dos application up and running in your computer, it's probably a question that you may have, and it is so easy. You're gonna find a link in the description of this video, so you can download it, clone it, and as soon as you have done that, you have to open it in your Visual Studio Code, right? You're gonna have a folder structure just like this one over here, right? And the next step that you have to do is open your terminal and run the command npm or node package manager and the alias I, which means basically install. Okay, so you just have to run that command, and you're gonna notice that the node modules folder is gonna be displayed here in the Visual Studio Code. As soon as you have done that, you only have to run the script npm start. Okay, there it is, npm start. That's it. You're gonna notice that as soon as you have done this, a new instance of your application is displayed in your local host over here. So you just have to just click on that, and you're gonna have your application up and running. An advice that I have for you is that sometimes when you're using Windows, this script needs to be modified, because by default it is using a slash, and right here we're using a couple of backslashes in the path. So I recommend you that you check this particular structure that I'm presenting here in the video for you if you're using Windows, so you can get it working perfectly fine in your computer. If you're using Linux or Mac OS, probably you're gonna need, well, a simple slash over here, right? I just want to tell you that, and it is something that we need to be aware of, right? Let's continue with the video. Give you an overview of what we have done in the last video, but I need you that you go ahead and check the playlist that I recommend you at the beginning of this video, where we have done this script line by line, right? I want to give you a quick overview, but yeah, please go ahead and take a look of that, because it is, well, there is a lot of knowledge that you need to have before this video, okay? Okay, let's do it. You can see that here we are importing some of the stuff that we need. We're importing typed PyTest, using the sync API, and so on, right? That's amazing. Then we are just having here a fixture, which is a session fixture, right? We have reviewed what is a fixture already, and in the function here we have a new function named API request context, right? And we are just sending the Playwright context here, and what we are doing is just basically setting up the method, right, to send an API request to an URL. Okay, you can see that the base URL here is this one, localhost 3000, and the reason is because this is the URL where I need to send my API requests, right? This is the one. And then I'm just yielding the response that I'm getting from the API request, okay? As soon as I have done this, now I can go ahead and create a test, all right? A PyTest test, and I just have to send my my fixture as parameter, right? And inside of this, I'm just creating the payload, just calling the fixture that we created, and we are sending a post request to the API of my to-do application, right? Then I'm just asserting that the new to-do is created correctly, and I'm printing, right, the new to-do request and the to-do's response that we got from the API request. I'm gonna run it to show you how it works, right? So I'm gonna come here to my terminal. I want to rename this test, right, to API testing, okay, that py, right? And now I can perfectly go ahead and well, open the folder where I have my API testing example, right? And I just have to run the command PYTEST and the name, which is API testing.py. I'm gonna run it, and you're gonna notice that it is not working because probably there is already a to-do with that particular ID, the one that I'm declaring in the data here. Okay, so I'm gonna just execute the script again, and you're gonna notice that the new to-do is gonna be displayed here, right? Which is name, or its name is test, because I have declared the title here in the payload, right? Its ID probably is 500, right? And the completed is set to false. What if I set this to true? You're gonna notice that as soon as I run this again, the task is gonna be completed. Okay, that's amazing. Now I want to continue this video explaining you how you can get the information with the ID that we already generated, right? How we can update the to-do, right? And how we can delete it. Okay, let's do it. It's fun, the demo. Okay, I'm gonna make a little change here in the payload of my create a new to-do. Okay, and I want to have a dynamic ID when I create a to-do. Okay, so I'm gonna open my terminal here, and I want to run the test that I have here, which is test underscore API underscore tests.py. Okay, so I'm gonna run it, and you're gonna notice that well, the response here, right, because we're yielding the response and we're printing the response in our console using this line, right? You can see that the ID automatically generated is this one over here. And I can prove you that, right? You can see the new to-do displayed in the list, but I can access the to-do's endpoint, and you can see that this is the ID that was automatically generated for the title. Okay, you can see that this is the correct one in the console. Let me show you this one, right? This is the same. There it is. All right, so I want to, well, give you a strategy, right, and some hints about how you can share value between tests. I know it is not super recommended, right? Because every single test should be independent, and every single one should have its own context, and we should not share variables between tests. And that's okay. If you want to set, in the recommended way is to set like the preconditions, and every single it should be independent. But if you need this approach, you can use it. Okay, let's do it. I'm gonna create a new fixture here. Maybe also you can, well, grab this approach for future references, and maybe you may want to do something else or similarly in the future. Okay, so I just want to give you the tools for that. The ways to share data with this, well, with PyTest, basically, right? We can use a file named conf.test.py, right? We can review that in the future, but the approach that I'll be using here is going to declare a new fixture. Okay, let me show you this. This is going to be a new fixture with the scope module. Okay, it is going to have a function here, which is going to be my IDs. Okay, and my IDs is going to have a variable named keys. Okay, and it is going to be an empty list. All right, as if I need the keys, I can yield it using this line over here, yield keys, and I can access the keys that I have in my list. All right, okay, great. All right, now I want to send, or I need to tell the test post to do, right, that I can access my fixture. Okay, which is my IDs. Okay, should work. My IDs. Okay. And if I am not wrong, right, I can perfectly save the automatic key that we are accessing or we're getting, right, from the ID in the response, and we can save it in my IDs keys list. Okay, let's do it. What I have to do is something like this. I'm gonna copy this line over here. There it is. And what I'm gonna do here is use my IDs fixture, right? And I'm using the that append method, right, to send the new key to the list. All right, that's it. Now, as you can see in the parameter here, I'm just sending the to-do response, and I'm accessing the ID value or property or attribute in the dictionary here, right? That's all that we're doing. So if I want to test if this is working correctly, right, I'm gonna copy this definition, this function, and I'll be changing this to get test get to do. All right, and I want to use a print here, right, and I want to see if using f here, this is the get to do, right, and I want to, well, use the my IDs, right, and I can access the position 0 because it is the only value in the list. All right, I can try that. Let me see. I'm gonna run again my test and let's see if it works or not. There it is. You can see that now we are sharing the value from the first test where we posted, right? We post the new test to do. And now in the second one, I'm accessing the same ID. All right. So using this approach, now we can, for example, come here and get the data using this particular approach. I'm gonna delete this payload, and instead of sending a post request to the API, I'll be sending a get request. I don't need to send a payload. And here, what I have to do is probably I need to use my IDs, okay, and the position 0 to get what is inside of this ID, right? Okay. Why? Because if you remember, I can access this particular ID or this object or dictionary, right, just accessing this particular ID over here. Okay, so the next step to prove you that this is going to work, right, is to print, well, what we have in the response. Okay, I'm gonna change a bit my new to do here to get, right, because I think it is, well, the proper name for this, get to do. And well, the to do's response, I need to also, I'm sorry guys, I need to do this, I forget it. Okay, there it is. This is not correct. Okay, there it is. Okay, I need to, well, get the get response, and I need to use the get to do request to grab the get response, and I need to also change to get response. Okay, I'm gonna, well, run this, and you're gonna notice that well, I'll be just doing a get request, right, to this particular endpoint, and it should return something like this. All right, so I'll do it. There it is. And now you can see that, well, it doesn't, I need to change something else here. I'm sorry guys. Get bar. There it is. I'm gonna run it again. And now you can see that in the first line here, we're just creating the post or the to-do, right? Then I'm getting the values that I, well, that I am having from this particular ID in the endpoint, right? And you can have them over here. You can see that it has the completed false value, the title test, and the ID automatically generated. Okay, and we can make some assertions here just to make sure that the data, right, that we are getting from the API that we posted before is still correct. All right. So how we can do it? It is pretty simple. Let me show you this. I'm gonna get a couple of assertions that I have here just to prove you that it is going to work fine. Okay, here we have them. Here we have a couple of assertions, right? And I'll be using my get response, okay, to make sure that the title, right, and the completed has the same values that I have from my to post payload. The completed should be in false, right? And the title should be test. All right, makes sense. If I run this again, you're gonna notice that my assertions are working. And if I send, for example, a couple of or an error right here, just to make sure that the assertion is working, you're gonna see an error. All right, let me show you this. Well, it is telling me that I was looking for test, right, with a couple of e's here, and the value was test. So here we have an error. That's amazing. Okay. Now with this in mind, it is working fine, right? I want to do something else for you. Okay, because if you check in my to-dos application, my environment has a lot of tests in the list, and I don't want to come here and delete it manually every single time. Okay, and I want to explain you, if I inspect here my network tab, what happened when I delete a to-do. You're gonna see that this request is going to be sending a delete request, right, with the ID in the URL, and that's it. Let me explain you how you can achieve this. Okay, I'm gonna copy this test, okay, and I want to change this get to, right, with delete. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna rename every single variable or reference to get to say that this is a delete test. Okay, that's it. And now instead of doing a get request, I'll be doing a delete request. The reason, remember that you can see the request method here, delete. All right, and that's it. I guess I can make a test here, right, and let's see if it is working. It is not working because the delete response, well, doesn't return anything, and I can prove you that over here. This is the response. It is totally empty, so I don't need to make an assertion there. But if I run this again, you're gonna see that now, right, if I go back to my application, we don't have any additional to do in my application. We're deleting what we have done before. That's amazing, right? All right, I think that's it for now. But now I want to explain you what you can do with this application and by API. Let's imagine that I create the test to do that I was doing before, and I'm gonna open my network tab just to show you something. Imagine that I click on this completed button, right? Okay, we can do it by UI, and that's totally fine, right? But we can do it as well by API. You can see this request here, and it is basically sending an patch request, right, to this particular endpoint. All right, you can see that this is the status code 200, okay, and that's amazing. And well, the payload is gonna be as simple as just send this object completed equal to true. And now the UI is understanding that this is, or it has to handle this API, this to do as completed, and has this particular style and a check here. All right. And also you can see that in the response, here we have a variation. The completed attribute or property is now set to true. All right. If you remember, originally we were working with a completed property set to false, and actually we're testing that it is false after I created that, because you can see that I'm doing the assertions here, right? Let me show you this. False. But now I want to emulate these actions using API. Let's do it. Okay, it's pretty simple, to be honest. I'm gonna copy my get to do. Nope, it is gonna be yeah, let's copy the get to do. I'm gonna create a new test function here, and it is gonna be named update to do, okay, or patch, it depends on you. I'm gonna delete every single get reference to update. Okay, there it is. And now well, I want to make an assertion, but now after the update, right, I want to check that the title is still test, but my completed property should be true. Okay, I think it makes sense, right? But let me show you what we have to do. I'm gonna copy this data here, right, this dictionary, and I'll be coming here to my update, and I'll be declaring here this as a payload, just to make sure and match what I explained to you before, right? This is the payload that I need to send. I'm gonna copy the object, and I'll be just having this over here. I need to set the T to upperscore because, or uppercase, I'm sorry, because it is required for Python. And then I need to send this payload as a second parameter for the request. Okay, and instead of doing a get request, it should have a patch request. Why? Because if I go back to the API request record here, you can see that this is a patch request, and it should work. I think so. Let me check if I'm doing something right, but it is not. Also, I want to make sure that I don't want to delete the delete to do, right? Because I want to see the final result in the UI, right? I don't want to delete the to do automatically just for this execution. So I'm gonna execute this, and you can see like all the logs of what is happening, and that's amazing. Let me show you this. I'm creating the to do. The completed property is set to false. Then I'm getting the information as soon as I am, or after, right? I created the new to do. And then I'm updating it, and you can see that the completed property is set to true. As simple as that. And I'm making sure that the completed property here is true. And it is working. Now, if I go back to my UI, right, you can see that now, here we have, the to-dos working correctly. Just let me run it again. And you're gonna notice that I do have a new to-do working as expected. And if you want to, have your full workflow working, you just have to delete this manually and run it again. And you're gonna see that we are doing the CRUD, right? We're creating, getting, updating, and deleting it. That's amazing. And you don't have any leftover in your UI, right? Because I'm doing the whole stuff here. So guys, I hope that you enjoy it. It was fun to make this video, and I think that this is one of the YouTube videos that you're gonna see about this, and I'm pretty happy to bring it to you. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, masters. See you in the next one. Please support this video, hitting the like button and subscribing. That's all that I need.